Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. And for a little bit, let y'all get in here. You know, what we want to talk about today is the new year. We want to do things differently. We are really striving. And in this last year, we've seen so much women against men, men against men, women against women, uh, just um, children against parents, elders against young people against elders. And we have to start somewhere to find common ground. And, for those who feel like they're ready to, you know, dive in, be in a place where you're not going to be down and judged, I would encourage you to like and subscribe. And that is because I can't, well, I'm a reader. That's what I do. So, avid reader. I like to write too. But um, I was thinking about a book that I read about bonobos. And if you don't know about bonobos, they are a matriarchal based, or they have a matriarchal based system. So let me just pull this up so I can just kind of show you.
This male bonobo chimpanzee may look like a dominant male, but he's really just a big mama's boy. That's because in bonobo society, the mamas hold lots of power. It's shared between males and females. This alpha female is one of the group's leaders. Don't believe it? Watch how she snaps the sapling, then struts her stuff in a way that would make any dominant male chimpanzee proud. The message is clear. This babe is boss. These bossy adult females form strong bonds with their offspring, especially the males. All babies are intimately cared for through the first 5 years. But eventually, young female bonobos must leave the troop and find another troop to accept them. The sons stay behind, and the ones with the most powerful mothers become the most privileged males. Bonobo mothers almost never discipline their young, even when they steal food right out of mom's mouth.
That is hilarious. So, before we get into the topic for today, I just wanted to show you that really, really cute video. And uh, so, as you can see, the bonobos are a matriarchal society. And that brought me to a book that I read a while back. And if you're open to it, and why don't you join me in just kind of listening to this introduction? Because we've been talking a lot, with our sisterhoods, with our brotherhoods. We've been talking and having a lot of conversations about how things have got to change. And as we all know, change starts within ourselves. And so um, let's take a look at this introduction here to this wonderful book. It is called The Bonobo Sisterhood. Great book. Great book. And let me see if I can pull that up. There we go. This is a really good book. And just given the intro, I want to kind of go through it. I'm gonna try not to interrupt too much. It's only like 12 minutes or so. So I'm going to try not to jump in too much, except I don't want a copyright strike. But just to kind of give you an idea of the ideas that are coming that we as a whole need to discuss. Now, while this particular topic is about women, um, it's about us as humans and individuals. But just let's go ahead and begin and see if this resonates with you.
Bonobos are living proof that patriarchy is not inevitable. Our most closely related evolutionary cousins, the bonobos, are peaceful, loving, food sharing, freely sexual, and xenophilic, meaning they love strangers, they do not fear them. Why? Because in their female led social order, they have nothing to fear. Here's how it works. If a female bonobo is aggressed upon, she lets out a special cry, and other females, whether they know her, like her, or are related to her, rush immediately to her defense from wherever they are. They form coalitions instantaneously with remarkable speed. Together, they fend off the aggressive male, biting his ear or toe and sending him into isolation. When he returns, in a few days or later, they all reconcile and he does not aggress again.
Okay, I know that was only 1 minute in, but that's something that's very, very powerful. Now, these are bonobo monkeys, females, that will band together when one of their own is being mistreated to the point where once that person, and I'm not even going to say just male, but once that person, in this case, it sounds like it was a male, once that person is confronted with the wrong of what they did, they come back. You're accepted. It's all good. It's okay. And you never do it again. But let's continue.
And here is the most significant takeaway. Evolutionarily, bonobos have eliminated male sexual coercion. This model of collective self-defense changes everything. I first learned about bonobos from Richard Wrangham, a Harvard University anthropologist, when we were on a panel together in 2004. He explained that primates use male sexual coercion to control females as reproductive resources. For example, male chimpanzees batter fertile females. Male orangutans force copulation with lone females. Male silverback gorillas commit infanticide, abduct the infant's mother, impregnate her, and add her to their harem. We humans hear about this violence and consider how brutal nature is, but we don't question its logic because it fits with our expectation of male behavior. We think of male violence as our legacy, our evolutionary destiny. Bonobos invite us to think again. It might be that bonobos prevented patriarchy from ever taking hold. They might represent a pre-patriarchal social order that stopped violence from becoming the organizing principle of society. And it produced instead a harmonious, peaceful, cooperative, and joyful community. This book contends that such a society is not only possible, it is proven by the existence of the bonobos. Bonobos look very similar to chimpanzees, so much so that they were not recognized as a separate species until 1929. They are found only in the Democratic Republic of the Congo and are less studied and less well known than chimpanzees. Nevertheless, the fascinating and developing body of work being done around bonobos reveals possibilities for peaceful coexistence between males and females that we might never have thought possible.
That is such a great point to me. Such a great point. I always say, just in anything that I do, look to nature. If you look to nature, you will find what it is that you need. And I know that sounds so cliche, but you know, just as we can expect the sun to rise and the weather to change, we can expect changes within ourselves, within the way we see ourselves, within the way that we see other people, the way we interact with ourselves and other people. This is very interesting. If this is resonating with you, please drop a yellow heart or any color heart in the chat or in the comment section if you're in the replay.
To say I was riveted while learning about our bonobo cousins would be a wild understatement. At that point in my career, I had spent more than a decade as an activist legal scholar and lawyer searching for ways to end male sexual violence. I had tried to do this through asking audacious questions to expose the underlying inequalities of our legal system and social order. Why Doesn't He Leave, for example, became the title of my master's thesis at Harvard Law School, challenging the deeply flawed societal expectation that sending women to battered women's shelters is an acceptable approach to domestic violence. But my new insights into bonobos opened a whole new world of possibilities to eliminate male sexual coercion, and with it, the underpinnings that cause, support, and perpetuate patriarchal violence. Patriarchal violence is the term I use to describe the amount and type of male coercion necessary to preserve a male-dominated social order. Richard and I were mutually compelled by our respective fields, so we created and co-taught a course on theories of sexual coercion to more fully explore the potential of bonobos to inform human law and society. Teaching this class with Richard gave me the opportunity to test the hypotheses about the power and potential of female alliances to change the world. The book you are now listening to is the result of that inquiry. That the idea of female alliance was born of a collaboration with a male colleague is not ironic, though at first glance it might appear to be. Female alliances don't exclude males, quite the opposite. And we will see more of how and why in the coming pages, where I invite everyone to join in new coalitionary forces to thwart, once and for all, the power of violence to shape the world.
That's really powerful. And that's what I meant by while we will be talking about sisterhoods, we will be talking about bigger things than this. And I wanted to also add that this is not only about in cases of coercion, but just in a society where a male can say something about you, and depending on the influence that they have, it could ruin your life. And same with the female, depending on how much influence, power, reach they have, they can do the same. But we see this, for the purposes of this video, we see this all too often in other areas of life outside of this kind of coercion that's mentioned. And as far as our sisters, a lot of times we we back this type of, even if it's verbal violence or verbal harassment or just anything that we see wrong, we tend to either, and when I say we, I don't mean everybody. If it doesn't apply, let it fly. I shouldn't have to say that, but I did. So there's that. But, you know, we either look the other way, we join in because we want to feel accepted and loved and part of the crowd, or we can band together and say, no, this isn't right. So this book really resonates with me. I'm going to go ahead. It's like 8 minutes left. And if it resonates with you, I know that it is on Amazon, it's on Audible, pretty much everywhere. But um, if you are a person that is just wanting to dive into why things are the way they are, to get into deeper discussions about how things just evolve, and they either we either break barriers or we get worse. So I know that a lot of people talk about generational curses. I don't personally, I don't like to use that word, but I do believe in um, generational trauma. And we will get to a, an experiment in the next video about this. It's the called cherry blossom experiment. If you have time, look that up. Otherwise, we will go into that in the next video just to help uh, gain some insight into how things that we may not even have ever experienced in our lives have a tremendous impact on the way that we behave now. So, if we train our minds to form an alliance with each other, and that also means holding people accountable. That does not mean, when I say alliance, that doesn't mean a clique, a group, somewhere that you can just do wrong and no one's gonna say anything. No, not that type of alliance. An alliance of truth, an alliance of safety, an alliance of community, as we were meant to be. I'm not going to continue.
I call these alliances the Bonobo Sisterhood. This sisterhood excludes no one, and all are welcome as long as they abide by the bonobo principle. It is a two-part principle, and if you agree with it, you are part of the bonobo sisterhood. The first part: no one has the right to pimp my sister. With pimp, I include any form of patriarchal violence, from gaslighting to economic, emotional, physical, sexual, and psychological abuse. The second part: everyone is my sister. For now, though, we have to start where we are, in a world saturated with patriarchal violence. Every day in the United States, 3 to 4 women are killed by their estranged husbands or boyfriends. Black women are at a 40% higher risk of being killed. LGBTQ people experience intimate partner violence at rates comparable to and even higher than their heterosexual counterparts. The National Network to End Domestic Violence, NNEDV, conducts a day-long survey once a year to offer a snapshot of domestic violence in the United States. Here's the snapshot from a single day in 2019. Because of domestic abuse and the threat of domestic homicide, almost 43,000 women and children were refugees from their own homes. They were running for their lives, forced to seek emergency shelter, forced to go into hiding. They were escaping from domestic terrorists who had been holding them hostage with threats and violence. That same day, more than 11,000 requests for shelter services went unmet, and 7,732 of those were for domestic terrorism refugees. Perhaps if we recognized them as refugees, we could see domestic violence as a crisis. This violence is the backdrop of our everyday lives. Part of why we view patriarchal violence as inevitable is that until now we have not had a proven way to eliminate it. We're taught to rely on laws or law enforcement to protect us. But the moment we delegate our safety to someone else, we give up our power to them. Bonobos show us that uniting with other females and allies, coming physically to one another's defense in numbers, will shut down aggression. We have a way out. The anthropologist Amy Parrish, a leading expert in bonobo studies, has said, "Bonobo females live the goals of the human feminist movement. Behave with unrelated females as if they are your sisters. And everyone is your sister." This approach excludes no one. It includes everyone.
That's true. And if I just think about it, this is how, my great grandmother, grandmother, this is how we were raised back in the day. We were raised in this way where, you didn't have to know someone, you'd get to know them. And, everybody is welcome. I mean, until you do something. But you get what I'm saying. Let's go ahead and continue.
The bonobo sisterhood is the missing piece that changes everything. And it's possible that in a butterfly politics sense, Ashley Judd is the bridge that connects it all. When she courageously came forward publicly against Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein, she reignited the Me Too movement. Women from all over the world came forth with their own experiences, showing the extent of the problem and uniting survivors around the world. The women's marches, the largest in history, showed our willingness to protest this untenable situation. What was lacking was a solution, and that's what this book proposes: a collective self-defense to protect ourselves and our sisters. This would be unlike anything that has been tried or conceived of to date, at least on a large scale, and it is something we can begin to create tomorrow.
My bad, I was just talking on mute. I certainly hope y'all hear that. When, you can't rely on law enforcement who, you know, may get there late, not through any fault of their own, not relying on anything but ourselves and each other first. First. That's what I want to point out.
The book is divided into 3 parts: the problem, the pivot, and the promise. The first part presents the pervasive problem of patriarchal violence, identifying how it flows as an undercurrent in our everyday lives. Informed by decades of legal experience and teaching at Harvard Law School, I share my perspectives on why we take for granted or view as inevitable the level of male sexual violence in our society and world. Women think and are taught that law will come to their aid if they are harmed. But as Thelma famously said in Thelma and Louise, the law is some tricky stuff. When it comes to protecting women from sexual violence, the law slips and slides and ultimately elides the problem, giving whatever justification it can while being careful not to admit misogyny. Women and girls are taught that men will protect them from violence, but this too is often misguided.
Is she lying? Is she lying? Haven't we just been talking about Neziah Harris? Haven't we just been talking about Ayana? You know, this is what we're taught, and this is where we are after. I mean, I can just go back and say 90 years from what I know, and in my family, 90 years of men. They are the protectors, and yes, indeed, they should be. However, this is not always the case. And in this day and age, when this is not always the case, instead of having those male protectors, those people that are supposed to surround us, we're judged. Um, we chose a Pookie, and all of this. So clearly, we can't rely on any one thing, whether it's a man, um, a, a female friend, a cousin, a sister, a brother, ourselves. We're the first ones. So let's go into that. I think she's just going to explain the rest of the book, but I really also wanted to make sure that I let you know that this is not for me just about the essay of it. It is about just the violence that some men, and I'm saying some because it definitely does not apply to everyone, that some men show. And whether that's in actual physical, verbal manipulation, shaming, whatever, we have got to figure out a different way to nip it in the bud so that we all can live together in a space where we're not constantly fighting each other.
What will finally enable us to take an unvarnished look at the role of sexual violence in establishing and maintaining gender-based hierarchies is knowing that for the first time, we have a way forward. The bonobos light the way out of this well-worn patriarchal path. We take heed from the way they operate socially. If one of us is at risk, then we are all at risk. So we work together to eliminate the risk as if it is happening to each of us personally. The pivot is learning that you are worth defending and that you have the power and right to defend yourself. Self-defense changes everything. It is the turning point that corrects the delegation of our protection to men. Instead, we learn to protect ourselves, and this in turn ignites our ability to defend our sisters. From the pivot of learning we have selves worth defending, we move to the promise. The promise of the Bonobo Sisterhood is that we can start enacting the principles now, and that we have all the tools we need. Building the Bonobo Sisterhood is as easy as standing next to a stranger you think might be in trouble because someone is harassing her on the subway car. Building the Bonobo Sisterhood means looking around at your chosen sisters and exploring how together you can forge new bonds inspired by the energy of knowing that we can transform our circumstances by creating our own collective self-defense. We will do this by reframing the question of equality to ask not how women are equal to men, where men are the standard of comparison, but we ask how do we promote equality among and between women? And what happens when we identify and choose to share our resources and protection with other women and girls? The energy of the Bonobo Sisterhood is palpable, tangible. I had the wonderful opportunity of giving a keynote speech at the Omega Institute for Holistic Studies in upstate New York. The night before my talk, my Bonobo sisters and I went out to an Italian restaurant. The women knew one another only through me and had only just met the day before. You would never know that from the intense, ecstatic, joyous, hilarious bonobo bonding that took place at that dinner. We were all supercharged by the excitement of having a new theory of life, a new way to confront the status quo and make it so much better. Everything I learn about bonobos gives me hope. As humans with the capacity for sophisticated language, morality, law, and the ability to articulate rights backed by a collective self-defense. We can choose to be bonobo. We choose love over fear, abundance over scarcity, peace over war, sexual choice and freedom over coercion. As we embark on this journey, please know that I am coming from a place of inclusion, love, and respect. The frame of patriarchal violence is premised on male supremacy over females. All our gender relationships take place against this background, and all will change when that changes. The Bonobo Sisterhood gives us the framework for comprehensive gender inclusion, and our new lens on equality among women allows us to transcend racial, ethnic, class, geographic, and other divisions. Through this change in focus, we consciously choose to be bonobo, to share in our abundance in creating a new social order. I offer you this book with the hope that the bonobos light up your inner power to change the world. Welcome to the Bonobo Sisterhood. Let's begin.
That is awesome. So, once again, that is the introduction to the book, The Bonobo Sisterhood. And it is a powerful, powerful read. And just part of things that I want to talk about. I'm sorry. It's the Bonobo Sisterhood Revolution Through Female Alliance by Diane L. Rosenfeld. And actually, the forward is by Ashley Judd. So kind of cool. Um, so this is where we want to start. This is where we want to start. We want to start within. We want to start with togetherness. We want to start with building communities. We want to start with solutions. What are the solutions to building these communities? And if you enjoyed the video and you're looking forward to um, diving in to more of a discussion surrounding, us as humans and what we can do to make this world better and to break whatever it is, all those icky things that have been passed down to us through generations and generations, or just things that we need to unlearn. However you choose to see that, you're welcome here. This is where you can talk. This is where we will be having spaces. We will be having members only spaces because we want to keep this focused. We will probably do Zoom. We're talking with, you know, and we're friends. And so we're just looking forward to just really uplifting each other this year. It has been a hard, hard year. And maybe that's every year for you. I know it seems like it's been darn near every year for me, or maybe you've had a great year and you just want to keep going up. So I'm going to end with that. And I'm so hoping that you will like, comment below, uh, send me a topic that you specifically would like to talk about. If you want to continue this conversation, definitely let me know. And until next time, sending love and light.